Good morning, everybody. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about a really interesting, somewhat disturbing photo I saw of Joe Biden flanked by his two of the most important black women that he has in his cabinet or that he's working with or whatever you want to call it. And we're going to talk about black faces in white spaces. So get comfortable, buckle up your seatbelt. We're going to get started on drboystv.com right now.
Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm, great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to co-sign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boyce TV. Here we are.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to drboystv.com, the home for intelligent black people. And today we're going to talk about black faces in white spaces. And that has to do with Ketanji Brown Jackson as well as Kamala Harris and just sort of what I've been seeing today. And also I want to remind everybody on this platform for intelligent black people, we are also B1. B1 means we put black people at the top of our priority list, not at the bottom. We are the first order of business when it comes to building our future. We educate our kids at the highest level. We build wealth in our families. We break generational curses. We do what's necessary in order for our people to move forward. So if you agree with the B1 philosophy, put a hashtag B in the number 1 in the chat, hashtag B1. Good morning to everybody on Instagram. Also, I see you over there. My Instagram is The Real Boyce Watkins. So feel free to follow me on the gram if you feel compelled to do so. If you don't mind being challenged, if you are an open-minded person, then follow me. But just know I'm going to probably piss you off or challenge you at least 3 times a week. So if you ain't ready for that, then you should go to the kiddie section because it's only grown folks over here that are thinkers. So I want to be around people that want to think and want to grow. All right. So anyway, hit the thumbs up button. So let me tell you guys what got my attention today, what really sparked my thoughts. I had no plans or intentions to even talk about any of this. You know, I just scroll through stuff and I see things and I let God kind of tell me what should be on my mind for that day. And I saw this interesting image of on LinkedIn. There's a lady named Sophia Nelson who I haven't talked to in years. And Sophia, if you see this, just know I love you very much. And I think you're awesome. And nothing against you, I promise. But I saw this image she had, and it was an image of Joe Biden with Kamala Harris and Ketanji Brown Jackson, and they're walking through one of those White House gardens or something. I don't know, about to do a press conference, and it's a photo op. And Sophia said, you know, look at this great picture of the president of the United States flanked by his black female vice president and his black female Supreme Court justice nominee. And so I saw a lot of likes. Of course, there's thousands of likes. LinkedIn's an interesting place. There's a lot of, we congratulate each other when white people promote us and give us validation and awards and things like that. I'm not making fun of the people on LinkedIn. I promise you. I love my LinkedIn people, but I encourage you to understand that you don't need that other man to validate you. You can also validate yourself. That's what's really important to understand. Anyway, I saw this image and it made me really think a little bit. It made me think about the nature of this image. And so here's what I want to kind of do. First thing I want to make 100% clear is that as I speak about Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson and Vice President Kamala Harris, this is not a statement against interracial marriage or interracial relationships. Some of you in here have interracial relationships. I have people in my family who have interracial relationships. There's a young lady I love very, very much who is married to a white guy from Europe, blonde hair, blue eyes, all that stuff. And he's the nicest guy in the world. So I am not anti anything in terms of what you choose to do with your life. I think that you have a right to do what you'd like to do. Instead, I want you to see my comments as pro-black family, right? Not anti anything. I ain't got time to be anti nothing. I am pro Black family. I am pro-Black love. I'm pro-Black people. I'm pro-Black man. I'm pro-Black woman. I want to see the Black woman rise. I want to see the Black man rise. But I think we have to define or try to define what rise really means, or at least look at the different perspectives of what it means to rise. See, a lot of the problems that you guys have is you have a problem similar to a book title of this brother named Dr. Randall Pinkett, Dr. Jeffrey Robinson, and there was another co-author. I don't have the co-author's name, but they wrote a book called Black Faces in White Places. And here's the problem. Here's the problem. Some of y'all have been mistakenly led to believe that Black success means being closer to white people. Some of you have been led to mistakenly believe that getting validation and support from a white man means more than getting validation and support from a Black man. Some of you have been distorted, have had your thinking distorted to the point where an evil white man can give you more validation and more so-called success in your life, or give you a greater perception of your own success than a righteous Black man. Some of you have been led to believe that an ineffective Black person in a high-ranking white position is more successful than a Black person who is in the hood, in the trenches, with the kids, working with the community, married to a Black woman, doing his thing with Black kids in a Black family. Like, some of you have been misled to believe that, right? So where's my evidence of this? Well, a lot of times, if you think about it, when we're doing lots of celebratory clapping because we see a Black person who got some sort of award or some sort of promotion or some sort of nomination, we spend very little time asking what I think is probably the most critical question that you ask if you are a Black person that's working on having high self-esteem. My question is, well, what are you doing for Black folks? That's it. How does the Black community benefit from any of this? I think if you start off all celebratory conversations by asking that fundamental question, you're going to get some answers that might disturb you. Now, I'm not making fun of you if you are having a hard time understanding what I'm saying. I'm not telling you that you're crazy, stupid, or wrong. What I am saying to you is this. I once had that same perception. I grew up. How many of y'all grew up like this? Give me a yes or no if you understand what I'm saying. I grew up hearing things like that if you are successful and you get the fancy job and you go to a nice university and you make a lot of money, you are helping the Black community because Black people, Black kids get to see how much money you have and how successful you are, and it inspires them to do better. Has anybody ever heard that sort of symbolism argument for Black success? To say that if I go and I move to the suburbs and get a job working for white folks and go to a big white university and I'm sitting in my fancy house in the suburbs and not talking to maybe more than 2 Black people a week, that I'm helping the Black community because I am a model of success, right? That's symbolism. Well, let me just tell you, over time, and I went through that. I was the so-called successful Negro. I remember I was the only Black person, not Black man, the only Black African-American person on earth to complete a PhD in finance in the year 2002. There are a lot of PhDs in finance. It's a very hard degree to get. It's very, very extremely competitive. I was the only African-American on the planet to do that. So I was hot stuff. I got recruited by a lot of places. I went to Syracuse University and made a lot of money, and I was hot shit, right? But then I remember thinking to myself, gosh, I think I'm a successful Black man, but I don't feel very successful. I think I'm having an impact, but I don't feel like I am. I don't feel like I'm not really even talking to any Black people. How are Black people benefiting when I'm sitting there talking to an Asian man in the morning, a Pakistani lady in the afternoon, a Russian guy at 3 o'clock today, and a white dude at 4? Like, what am I doing that is benefiting the Black community? Right? I'm at a university, sure, that's where the students are paying $60,000 a year to learn from me, and most Black people can't afford $60,000 a year to go to college. And also, the ones who are coming to college, they're still in debt 20 years later, still haven't paid off their student loans. So I don't even know if pulling them into this debt trap is beneficial to them. I don't know. I really started asking questions, right? So what I think that we have to do more as Black people is you got to start asking questions. Because if you start asking questions, you'll find that many of your assumptions could be wrong. Many of your assumptions about success could be a little bit off base. Some of what your perception of success happens to be comes from something somebody told you when you were little, and you just held on to that for dear life. So then when I come along and I start saying some stuff that sounds like I'm from another planet, your first reaction is going to be, oh, he hating. Oh, what's wrong? Why are you talking down on Judge Ketanji? Why are you hating on Kamala Harris? She got chucks and pearls. Why are you hating on a black woman? Right? That's what people do, right? That's what people do. Well, no, I don't hate on a black woman. I love on a black woman every single day of the week. I got black daughters. I love them to death. I love on my wife consistently every day. So don't sit here and say I'm hating on a black woman, because I'm loving on a black woman every day. And part of the reason I'm loving on a black woman and not loving on Becky or Rebecca or Karen is because I understand, I've decided that being next to a black woman and supporting her and loving her and pushing her to be the best she can be, that's a way I can contribute directly to the black community. I would not be the same man talking to you right now if I had a white woman in the room next to me that was my wife. I'm not saying that I would be a bad person. I'm not saying that I wouldn't have something to contribute, but I couldn't sit here and tell you, yeah, I'm in the struggle with you with both feet. I couldn't say like I'm in the black struggle, but yet I escaped the struggle, and went and married a white woman because they're not as traumatized as black people are. Black people, we traumatize. In case y'all don't know, that we are traumatized, easily triggered. That's why our divorce rates are so high. That's why baby mama itis is out of control. That's why we have black men that kill each other, black women that hate each other on sight, because we all grew up in the middle of this trauma. So to me, part of being in the trenches with the black community means having black people around you, right? For different people, it has different manifestations. For some people, it might mean living in the hood. My friend Kim, people ask her, why do you live in the hood? You make $100,000 a year. She says, because I need to be in the struggle with my people. So that's her decision, right? With me, they might say, well, boys, what made you say in the beginning you would only marry a black woman? I mean, is that unfair to any nice white woman that comes along? There's good people of all races. And I say, yeah, there are, but I want to find a good person who happens to be black like me. Right? Yeah, there's some crazy people out here that I would never marry in a million years. I wouldn't touch them with a 10-foot pole, but I want to find a good quality black woman, and I want to be next to her, because every day we get up, we're going to battle in a world that doesn't like us very much. And we also are going to battle in a world that absolutely hates, historically has hated the black family. And that's why I want to get back to Biden and this image with Kamala Harris and Ketanji Brown Jackson. As I pull this up, please do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe if you haven't done it yet. Please do that. Also, if you want a free e-copy, I have a book, an ebook. It's a very short ebook called How to Build Wealth in the Stock Market for $5 a day. Feel free to go take a look. You can go to blackmoneyminute.com or boycewatkins.com, either one, blackmoneyminute.com, and you can get a free e-copy of the book. We believe in investing around here. That's what we talk about all the time. All right. So I saw this picture of Biden with Ketanji on one arm or one side and Kamala Harris on the other. And then I also juxtapose that with his history. As you guys know, every week we do Dr. Boyce Book Club, where we're reading Dr. Claude Anderson books. Dr. Claude Anderson is one of the most important human beings in the history of this country. It should concern you that many HBCUs consider him too dangerous to bring into the campus. Yet when people like Ice Cube and Kanye West read Dr. Claude Anderson, when Charlamagne the God read it, they literally fell in love instantly, and they've been promoting his message to the masses. And I'm very happy they did that. So when I saw this image, I thought about I saw some, when Sophia was saying, "Isn't this great? Isn't this amazing?" I said, no, actually, this isn't new. There's nothing new about the image of a white male having black women by his side. You can go back to Thomas Jefferson and Sally Hemings, or you can go back to the slave plantation, where you always had scenarios where the white male wanted the black female by his side. The black female is a wonderful asset. The black female is very attractive. The black female when she's really operating on her highest frequency, has a lot of wisdom that she can provide and a lot of guidance she can provide. So a lot of these men understood the same thing that I understand about great black women, which is that they can provide wise counsel to you. They can provide excellent support to you. They can provide tremendous loyalty to you. So you could go back to the plantation and find examples of white men with black women next to them. There's nothing new about that. What you want to consider, though, is that there is an inherent male competition that takes place within that, right? There's a reason why when they would lynch a black man, what do they would tell me? Somebody tell me in the chat. They don't say the actual word. I don't want no profanity in the chat, but do you know what they would cut off? Just give me a yes or no. Just give me a yes or no. Does everybody know the first thing that they would cut off of a black man when they lynched him? Give me a yes if you know. Don't say it. Don't say the cuss word. Don't be cussing in the chat. We're not gonna cuss today. Does anybody know what they used to cut off on the black man? So the question becomes, why did they cut that thing off? Well, they cut it off because they were jealous, frightened, and insecure about our manhood. There was a natural inherent male competition that black men should be aware of. That's why I tell young black guys, like, be careful about drugs and alcohol and all that. Malcolm X used to say the white man will sell you the liquor bottle and then he'll lock you up for being drunk. He gets you high on dope. They market the dope to you. They market the alcohol to you. They market the reckless lifestyle to you so they can have a reason to lock you up. That's why they put it in every song. That's why they put it in all the media. That's why they glorify the thugs and the gangsters and the killers and the dope dealers, because they want you to become a thug, a gangster, killer, dope dealer. They want you to look up to that. Why? Well, because a lot of these guys end up in the prison, so they're able to make money off of their cheap labor. That's why a lot of prison inmates make about $1 a day. That's slavery. That's what it is. It's officially slavery. It's not sort of metaphorically slavery. Like, it's officially in the Constitution. This is slavery, where they will send the inmate away, make him work for $1 a day. Right? This is the loophole. Go watch Ava DuVernay's documentary if you don't know what I'm talking about. So with that being said, there's always been an inherent male competition where the goal of that white male was to do a couple things. One, to minimize the black family. That's why they specifically created laws to reduce the likelihood that black men and black women will be working together. That's why they implemented Willie Lynch policies to keep you divided. Many of y'all are still stuck on that to this day. And then secondly, there was a goal not just to destroy the family, but to just make sure the black male wasn't around at all. How does this get to Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and Ketanji Brown Jackson? I want you to consider the irony of this. Does anybody know? Has anybody seen pictures? Give me a yes in the chat. Have you seen pictures of Judge Ketanji's husband? I forgot his name. Dr. Jackson. That's what I'll call him. I want to be respectful. Dr. Jackson. Has anybody seen Judge Ketanji's husband? I think that, no, that's not. Sorry, that's the wrong picture. That's Will Smith. Has anybody seen? I don't have a picture of him right now, but you've seen Judge Ketanji has a husband who is not black. He's a 7th-generation Harvard graduate who probably helped her get into the halls of power. There he is. There's Dr. Jackson right there, sitting with his wife at the Supreme Court nomination hearings, right? Has anybody seen Kamala Harris's husband? His name is Dougie, or she calls him Dougie. And Dougie is also a high-powered lawyer or something like that, who also was significant in helping Kamala rise in the halls of power, right? So Kamala had Dougie. Judge Ketanji has her husband. I'm going to call him Dr. Jackson. I don't know his first name. And this plays a part in their ability to be standing next to Joe Biden as the nominees to the Supreme Court. I dare to say that if you replace Dougie with Tyrone, that Kamala wouldn't be vice president of the United States. If you replace Dr. Jackson with Dr. Boyce Watkins, ain't no way on earth Judge Ketanji would have made it through those nominations, because all they have to do is go to my YouTube channel and find at least 1,488 reasons why they wouldn't want a black woman married to a man like me on the Supreme Court. That wouldn't happen. So here's the deal. I told you I love to remind everybody that I do love my wife, because I think it's important for black men to say things like this, right? And my wife is just as smart as Judge Ketanji. She is a full professor of social work, a licensed therapist, certified life coach, all kinds of stuff, and a marathon runner. My wife has done something that only about 2 to 3% of all PhDs ever accomplished, which is to become a full professor of social work. That's a very big deal. So she's every bit as smart as Judge Ketanji. She's every bit as qualified as Kamala Harris. But she will never, ever, 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 ever be on the Supreme Court. She would never be vice president of these United States, because America has a problem with the liability that is on her arm. That liability in white society is called Dr. Boyce Watkins. Right? I am her liability in white spaces. Period. In fact, I think her university started treating her a little funny, a little different when they found out who she was marrying. Now, let me just explain why my wife and I just don't give a fuck. Well, because my wife understands, we understand two things. One, that we want to be in the struggle with each other. If you ask my wife, hey, why didn't you marry a white guy? She would probably, after she finishes vomiting, she would probably say, because that's just not my interest. That's not something I grew up with. That's not my uncles, my daddy, her dad's her dad was a professor just like me. Shout out to him, right? These are not the men I grew up with. My older brother, these are the men I love. I love the black man. That's what she would probably say to you, something like that. No, I'm kidding about the vomiting part, but she does like this. She's in love with all this chocolate, right? And a lot of y'all are, because I think we got it like that. That's why they cut our stuff off, because they were so scared of us, right? And then number two, we would kind of help you we would kind of connect to the idea that while having me on her arm is a liability in white spaces, it is a tremendous asset in black spaces. So while I'm certainly going to really mess up your Supreme Court nomination, you sitting in front of the Democrats and the Republicans trying to explain your track record, and they're Googling who your husband is, that's going to be just a complete shit show, because I'm not a good fit for white supremacy. But there are spaces where black people exist, where having me on her arm is a huge asset, where there are doors I can open for her that a lot of people can't open, right? So the point is that sometimes you got to pick your position. You got to get in where you fit in. You got to understand the places, black people, where you have power, and then understand the places where you're zapped of your power. You got to understand the difference between Superman when he's flying around the planet fighting crime and lifting buildings up in a single bound, versus when he's got kryptonite in the area. Superman stays away from the kryptonite. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? The Superman doesn't go to the places where there's lots of kryptonite, because he knows that that is going to kill his superpower. So for many intelligent black people, I venture to tell you this. There are spaces where everything about you is a huge asset. There are places you can go where you're going to be loved just because of who you are. There are spaces you can go where the blacker you are, the more awards you'll get. The more you are down for the black community, the more love you will receive. The more people will back you up. The more awards and validation you're going to get. But then there's other spaces where your blackness is nothing more than a complete liability. And what I would encourage you to do, just for your own sanity, is to be very conscious and intentional about what spaces you choose to operate in. For example, I don't envy a Judge Ketanji sitting in front of a bunch of self-righteous old white guys trying to explain anything about being black. I wouldn't do that. I could not pass that. I would fail that test miserably. Right. And so if you look at that image, going back to that original image of Judge Ketanji and Kamala Harris standing next to Joe Biden, how much pride we have. And we say, oh my God, look at this. Look at this. Two black women standing next to the president of the United States. I need you to really think carefully about why you're so excited about that image. I need you to really kind of process how many years Joe Biden spent putting millions of your uncles and your fathers and your loved ones, your sons, in prison. I mean, I need y'all to really think about that. I need y'all to think about how many years Joe Biden sat next to Strom Thurmond, one of the most notorious racists in history. I mean, literally a guy that would have exterminated your black ass in a minute, and worked overtime to say, how many people can I send to prison? And he wasn't sending his drug addicted son Hunter to prison. Last time I checked, Hunter ain't done no prison time, but Hunter is strung out on crack every single day of the week. But he wasn't sending Hunter to prison and Hunter's buddies to prison. He wanted to send your daddy to prison. He sent your uncle to prison. He sent your son to prison. So I need you to really process for a moment how incredibly strange it is that you celebrate and receive personal validation, satisfaction, and fulfillment from the idea that you befriended a person who has pushed forward with policies that have led to the almost complete extermination of the Black family in America. I mean, I need you to really think about that for a minute. And I think that if you really are honest with yourself, you're going to realize, oh my God, we are really screwed up. They really twisted our head on backward. And here's the thing. You can have this conclusion without hating Ketanji Brown Jackson. I read her whole bio. She seems likable. She seems so smart. I like smart Black people. I think that's cool. Kamala Harris, she works hard. Sure. She's qualified for a lot of things. There's nothing. I know 1,000 Black women who are more qualified to be successful than she is, or just right up there with her. But seriously though, I think that you got to kind of stop mistaking white spaces for high spaces, or being around your oppressor to somehow mean that you've achieved something special that you can never have in your own community. When you give another group of people complete control of your cultural, intellectual, and success related currency, then you're effectively making them incredibly wealthy, and you're making yourself extremely poor. What do I mean by that? If I grow up as a Black person thinking that the only way I can be successful is if I get away from Black people and get closer to white people, then effectively what I've done is I've created a white supremacist landscape. I've given them all the cultural wealth. I pretty much have committed to the idea to say that I ain't nothing, I ain't nobody until I can get those people to validate me in some way, to give me a job, give me an award, give me some sort of recognition, put me on TV or whatever. And that is a horrible trap to fall into, because ultimately you're looking for love in all the wrong places, and you're going to find yourself either rejected and hurt, or you're going to find yourself bowing, scraping, begging, bootlicking, doing any degrading thing you could possibly do to get those people to love you, including standing proudly next to a man who is more responsible single-handedly for the mass extermination of Black people, who literally was on an Adolf Hitler level of extermination when it came to what he did to Black people in the Black family. You don't believe me? Let me ask you a question. How many of you, give me a yes in the chat right now, if you have an uncle, cousin, brother, dad, grandfather that went to prison or got locked up, got caught up in some dope related stuff, that has gone to prison in the last 30 years. Give me a yes or no. Yes or no. Put their name in the chat. Put their name in the chat. It's important to put their name in the chat, because we act like these people don't exist. They do exist. They're still rotting away in prison as you're celebrating Judge Ketanji and Joe Biden. They're still in prison now. They just tell you to forget these people, but they're there. They're there right now. I know these guys. They're there right now. I know a brother who just got out after 30 years last week. Right? They're there. They still exist. I know they told you that they're dead. I know they told you that they ain't no good Black men out here. No. They're a lot of them are in prison. You do know that, right? So many of you have been traumatized by this. I know I have. I mean, my biological father went to prison. My younger brother went to prison. I didn't grow up with him, but he's my younger brother. He went to prison. My uncle, who was my mentor, who I looked up to, my role model, he went to prison. So yeah, prisons kind of everywhere. I had a cousin just went to prison. Got a lot of years for some dope related stuff. So a lot of us are dealing with this very closely, very directly. This Holocaust has affected many of us, right? It would be hard for me to find any of you in here, for example, who were shot by a cop, or who have somebody in your family that was shot by a cop. I'm not saying that doesn't happen, but there'll probably be a lot more no's if I was to ask that one. But when I ask how many of y'all have a loved one who went to prison, all the hands go up. That's because the Joe Biden Black male extermination policy was extremely, extremely successful. So if you ever want to know, I'm gonna answer this in advance. If you ever want to know why I'm not interested, I don't care about any of these elections, it's because we got unfinished business. We got unfinished business on reparations, and we got unfinished business on mass incarceration. And until you finish that business, then we have nothing else to discuss. I'm not telling you that that's what you need to do. I'm just telling you that's what I'm going to do. Now, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up if you haven't done it yet. Also, tonight, actually, I'm doing a special lecture. It's totally free if you guys want to join us. It's the title we came up with was How to Find Financial Security Without Doing It All by Yourself. So if you'd like to join us, it's going to be good. I'm going to break down some steps in terms of understanding financial security and how community and family are critically important in terms of us being able to understand what wealth looks like. You can't understand Black wealth and why Black wealth is disappearing unless you study what has happened to the Black family. A lot of you don't understand. You guys know wealth is my thing. That's what I know. You can't build wealth in a community full of babies, mamas, and babies, daddies, and baby mama drama. It just doesn't work that way. Because when there's war, when there's drama, there's always going to be loss, economic loss, right? So ultimately, if you want to join us tonight, just go to boycewatkins.com. There should be a link there. Or if you're on Instagram, the link is in the bio. So let me just kind of lay this point out. I want to make this 100% clear. When I talk to you about who Judge Ketanji is married to or who Kamala is married to, and I bring that in, I'm not speaking against interracial marriage or interracial relationships. Just so you know, I want to make that clear. I know other people have different opinions. I'm not going to hate you because of who you chose to love or what your situation is. That's your choice. I'm not going to judge you on that. I am speaking more in favor of Black marriage as a form of power. Also, I want to bring to your attention the fact that we've never had a Supreme Court justice in history who ever married a Black person. That is not coincidental. That I just explained to you why that's exactly the way things were designed. Again, my wife could never be a Supreme Court justice, neither could I. Right? And we're just as educated as Ketanji, just as educated as Kamala, probably more educated actually, if you really look at the credentials. But we would never be considered for that job. So put it out of your mind that America is a meritocracy. No, it is a racist society where only certain people need to apply for certain positions. But it's okay though. It's not a reason to be offended because I don't want those positions anyway, because I deem them to be pretty ineffective when it comes to actually changing the day-to-day lives of the people that I care about. The second thing is, I want you to consider this. Those who say, that this conversation is anti-Black woman or we're hating on Kamala, hating on Ketanji. I want to ask you this question because I hear a lot of women who say that, and I hear that point of view. But remember this: when Barack Obama ran for office, one of his greatest assets, one of the people that you love the most, was Michelle Obama. And and if I were to replace Michelle Obama with Becky Obama or Karen Obama, and it was some blonde woman next to Barack, a lot of you wouldn't have voted for him. A lot of you wouldn't have supported him because part of what you loved about Barack was that he was married to a Black woman. Am I right or am I right? Right. So if you have the right to judge Barack based on who he chose to marry, then I do. We all have the right to evaluate Judge Ketanji based on who she chose to marry. Right. It doesn't mean she's unqualified. It just means that that's a piece of information. So ultimately, when you talk about all this, we talk about Black faces in white spaces. And again, that I think that's the title of the book by Dr. Randall Pinkett and Dr. Jeffrey Robinson. I'm going to give them, actually it's Black faces in white places. I think that's what they call it. So feel free to go check that book out. I had them on for an interview yesterday. I want to make sure I give proper credit to that concept. I want you to just really realize that at the end of the day, if you're looking at the image of these people next to Joe Biden and you're not impressed by that, that actually, in my view, reflects an evolution in the thinking of our community. That's actually higher Black self-esteem. That to me is where you're acknowledging that really you have the sauce. You're the ones who matter the most when it comes to what happens in your space and in your community. External validation is not only difficult to obtain and very costly to obtain, it's a massive distraction from doing the work necessary to rebuild our community. We have too many problems that don't get solved because our best and brightest are off solving problems for white people. And do you understand what I'm saying? You have too many Black scholars who want to go hang out at white universities. You have too many Black lawyers that want to go work for white law firms. You have too many Black employees that want to go work for white corporations. You have too many Black people with tremendous skill who say, well, gosh, why would I want to be around Black people when I could actually get validation from the people that matter the most to me? So I'm not making fun of you if you're in that category. I get it. I was in that category myself, but I really want you to understand that the magnitude of your potential is not nearly as relevant as what you do with that potential. I would rather take a person who operates at a level 4 who gives me 100% of that level 4 than the person who's at a level 10 who gives me 2% of that level 10. A level 10 operating at 2% is not as valuable as a level 4 given 100%. What does that mean? Well, a lot of times you got these Negroes, they got all this education, all these credentials. You got an MBA, a JD, a PhD. You got all these letters behind your name that makes you feel like you're something special, right? And you're like, look, mama, I made it. But when you look at your day-to-day life and where you're putting your energy, you're not putting much of that energy to the Black community on any level whatsoever. You make little donations to the boys club. Maybe you go to a Black church or something and you got a couple of Black friends. But for the most part, a lot of your labor, that 40 hours a week, 2,000 hours a year, or 20,000 hours a decade, or 80,000 hours over a 40-year career, probably about 100,000 hours of labor, 100,000 hours of labor. If you multiply that by $50 an hour, then you get about $5 million. So your $5 million labor contribution, remember, Black labor is the economic foundation of America. So that $5 million worth of labor that you do over the course of your lifetime, the majority of that labor is going somewhere else. The majority of that labor is going to a community outside your own. That is why the development of Black business is the most important thing we can do in this generation. That's why teaching our kids to build industry in our community is the most important thing that we can do. That is why if we teach them how to build that industry, then instead of giving that $5 million worth of labor per person over 40 million people, which amounts to trillions of dollars, that's why instead of giving that $5 million worth of labor to your oppressor, you can give that $5 million worth of labor to yourself. Instead of giving 40 hours a week to your oppressor, you're giving 40 hours a week to yourself. Instead of giving 100,000 hours of lifetime labor to your oppressor, spending more time with your boss than you spend with your own damn kids, you can bring that back home and turn that inward so that you can actually build the community that gets neglected because you're off serving everybody else. You're off babysitting other people's kids, so your own kids are starving to death. They lied to you. They made a lot of the mothers think that being in a factory with some people who don't even like you is more important than raising your own damn children. Who came up with that nonsense? Who came up with that false logic? And there's nothing more important for a mother or a father to do than to raise their child. How in the hell did you think that being at the Ford plant was more significant than actually being with your own damn baby? That ain't natural. That's not who you were. That's not who God made you. So stop letting other people tell you who you're supposed to be. You make that decision. But first, you got to gain the awareness to even make the right decision in the first place, because unfortunately, many of us have our heads screwed on backwards. They told us up was down and down was up. And that's why you're working your ass off and you ain't making no progress. That's why they do Dr. King dinners every year to talk about how far we've come. But every single indicator of Black quality of life has gone down. Black wealth has gone down. The education of Black children has gone down. Safety and violence in urban communities has gone down. Every single measure of your quality of life has gone down, yet they keep telling you that you've made progress. How is that happening? Well, because they show you a picture, they show you some fancy picture of Judge Ketanji standing next to Joe Biden, and you say, Lordy P, look at how far we've come. Look at how much progress we've made. Look at how much we've done. And this picture ain't got a lick of shit to do with whether or not your family's making progress, because your cousin's still locked up. Your son still got 4 babies mamas. Your other son got shot, and your life is a mess, and your money ain't right. So how the hell does Judge Ketanji standing next to Joe Biden have anything to do with how much progress we've made as Black people? Let's walk away from the symbolism and start walking toward the substance. That's the connect the dots that we have to do. We must connect those dots. That's it, guys. I'm done talking. I'm going to get on out of here. Do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. Make sure you do that. Also, if you'd like to support the platform, become a patron, feel free to go to intelligentblackpeople.com. That's intelligentblackpeople.com. And also, by the way, we have financial workbooks in store. As you guys know, we got experts together to create a bunch of workbooks for children in every grade band so they can learn economics, investing, stocks, and the fundamentals of wealth. So if you'd like to go take a look, they usually sell out really fast. That's why we didn't have them for so long, because they sold out completely. It took a while to get some in there, but we have a few in stock. So if you'd like to get some for your kids, feel free to go to financialworkbooks.com, or if you're on Instagram, just hit the link in the bio. The stuff is all there. All right, everybody, please have a wonderful day. God bless you. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you soon. Take care now. Peace.
Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to co-sign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boyce TV.